the first magic is in selling, right? We're going to get into production and some tips around that, but selling is number one. So you don't want to be competing on price. You want to be competing on value. Customers don't want the cheapest price. They want highest value. So during your sales process, what your goal should be is to create the largest price to value discrepancy as possible. What is up, everybody? Mike Gore Hickman here, founder of paintergrowth.com, and you're listening to the Painter Growth Podcast. Now, I have a really fun, different type of podcast episode presentation for you today that I promise is going to be packed with absolute nuggets for you to take, for you to implement, and go to scale your painting business. Now, the main purpose of today's presentation, it was a webinar that I hosted in conjunction with Apollo Sprayers, the HVLP sprayer manufacturer out of San Diego. Now, I was the main host of this presentation, and my topic was pricing for profit, offline advertising, and how to implement a piece rate strategy, all designed around scaling your painting business. So if you want to learn how to price your jobs to maximize profit, and implement a piece rate system, so again, maximize profit and painter productivity, then you want to listen to this. So there's a slideshow that goes along with it, so you can kind of follow along, see the resources that I talk about. And as always, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me directly, mike@paintergrowth.com. But I really recommend that you buckle in, watch this presentation. It's jam-packed full of value. So with that being said, guys, I hope you get at least one thing out of here that you can really use to change your business. Buckle up and enjoy. If you are on your phone, if you could just stop working, sit down in your truck, just pay attention for a little bit, I promise you is going to be a good use of your time. As a painter, if you're currently painting, you're going to be making about 50 to 60 bucks in the next hour if you just paint. But if you focus on what we're doing, what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to help you add tens of thousands of dollars to your business for next year, if not hundreds of thousands. So if you can take that 60 minutes off, that $50 will wait for you. Is going to be worth your time. So let's get your focus. Let's sit down, grab a coffee, and let's jump in. So I have a bunch of tools and spreadsheets and resources that I'm going to be showing you today. And if you stay until the end, I'm going to show you how you can get all of them. So you'll be able to get all the spreadsheets, all the extra trainings and things that I talk about throughout this presentation. Now, what is this? So in my first year of painting, it was crazy mess. I was learning every single day. It was an absolute disaster. Everything that could have went wrong. And in one particular house, right near the end of my first summer, I was up. I had a bunch of painters quit on me. I hired a stoner who puttied a bunch of windows wrong. I severely underquoted this job. I had a painter spray trim paint on sprayed trim paint on stucco. Another painter painted the edges of these storm windows and they wouldn't fit back in. Anyway, terrible project. Was going very poorly. Anyway, right towards the end of it, I was painting a window in the back. I was back on the tools at this time, and how they had it set up is that there was this awning. There was this tent awning about 10 feet up off of the house. One of those corrugated plastic roofs or whatever. And I had to paint a window from above that. So what I did is I took a 2x10 board and I screwed it down to the top of this corrugated roof, and I took my little multi-way ladder and I put it on there, and then I grabbed my can, grabbed my brush, grabbed my tools and whatever, and then climbed up the ladder. I'm going up there, scraping, sanding, brushing, priming, all good to go. Start coming down the ladder. As I'm coming down, I go to put my foot on the 2x10 board, and the ladder starts to come off the wall. I'm like, oh no. And so what happened next is the ladder came all the way off the wall. I hit the roof. I went through the roof and fell 10 feet further into onto luckily for me though, a concrete pad and a lawnmower caught my fall. So I fell 10 feet down, landed on a lawnmower and a concrete pad. And as I fell, I kind of put my arm back like this, landed on my wrist and ended up dislocating my lunate. Had to get emergency surgery. I was in a cast for about 4 months, and I had 3 pins in my wrist for another 3 months after that. Anyway, what happened there was really a symptom of me, of my business, of my leadership, of my company, of burnout, not having systems and being overworked and doing things haphazardly and not carefully, because I was in this constant state of fight or flight. right? My business didn't have systems. I didn't have jobs. I was taking on jobs that were underbid because I needed work, right? Now, fast forward, we're just 2 years, and I basically set up this system with my production manager. I got to a point where every Friday I would sit down with my production manager. And just 2 years later, right? And I would sit down with my production manager every Friday, and we'd have a noodle bowl. I don't know if you guys know, like a noodle bowl, Vietnamese noodle bowl. We'd have noodle bowl Fridays, and I would sit down, and he would hand me a stack of completed jobs and checks. We took paper checks primarily, but he would hand me about $50,000 of checks every week, and I would hand him a stack of new jobs to complete. And that was what I did to basically run my production, is that he would hand me $50,000 of checks, and I would hand him a stack of new jobs, and we finish our noodle bowl and we get on with the jobs. He'd flip through. He's like, yeah, that one's done. That one's done. That one's done. That one's done. And this happened in just 2 years. That transformation from like 10K, 15K per month and literally going to the hospital for it to being able to do over $200,000 per month, and doing that with peace, clarity, confidence, and just really good systems. So I want to help you guys do that, at least get a little bit further. Now, there's a lot of systems that you need in a business to get to that point, right? You need sales, you need marketing systems, you need recruiting systems, you need to know how to train your team and transfer skills. You need to understand leadership and how to be a good leader and how to lead people to get them to do what you need. You need to know how to delegate. You need to understand finances, and of course, a lot more. Now, we're not going to go through all of this today, right? We would be here all week if we tried to do that. However, today what we're going to do is talk about pricing for profit and then marketing, so getting leads. Now, I really hope that we can help you guys do this today. And if you can learn a little bit about pricing for profit and learn a little bit about getting leads, I will feel like I did a good job. So let's get into that. So profit first pricing. Now, so many people think that there's magic to pricing, right? How much should I charge for this? Or if I'm doing cabinets, should it be 130 a door, 150 a door? Or how about with 2K products, how does my pricing change then? And the hard answer is that there is no one right answer for this, right? But it comes down to two really important factors. Number one, how good are you at selling? And then number two, how efficiently can you produce, right? There's a lot of minutia in both of those things that we're going to get into in this presentation in a couple of minutes here. The first magic is in selling, right? We're going to get into production and some tips around that, but selling is number one. So you don't want to be competing on price. You want to be competing on value. Customers don't want the cheapest price. They want highest value. So during your sales process, what your goal should be is to create the largest price to value discrepancy as possible. So if someone comes in and says, hey, $10,000 is a lot of money. Pretend we're not talking about painting, just in general, $10,000. All right, feels like a lot of money. Well, what if you got a Ferrari out of it? Right? What if you got a Cybertruck or whatever your car of choice is? All of a sudden, that $10,000, you're like, well, it's not a lot of money for that, right? So a lot of money is relative to the value that you're creating and the value that you're providing. And so your job as a salesperson, and all of us business owners, we're all salespeople. Your job as a salesperson is to create the largest price, the value discrepancy you can. 50% gross margin should be the goal, right? On your interior and exterior projects. Some projects can be higher. Some can be a little bit lower. We don't want to go too much lower than that. Now, the first step is to cost your current jobs. And what I mean by costing your current jobs is that you need to figure out how much labor and how much materials it's actually costing you right now as a percentage of your projects to complete each job. You want to get a benchmark for where you currently are with your profit margins so we can make pricing decisions that are right for you. So one of the first resources I'm sharing with you here today is our job costing spreadsheet. Now, on this job costing spreadsheet, every single line is going to be a different job of yours. You're going to put in your total job value, how many hours it took. It's going to give you your charge rate, how much materials or paint you purchased, the percentage of that, how much labor, the percentage of that, and then it's going to give you a whole bunch of metrics after that, your gross profit margin, your contribution margin per hour, among a few others. And then on the top here in like this faint blue and this faint purple, you put your goal paint percentage and your goal labor percentage. And then on every one of them, it tells you what your variance is above or below what your goal was. So for this project, for this Johnson project, which was $5,500, 9% material. So we actually earned, we were $160 under on paint. So yippee. Now that's a data point. So we want to create a lot of data points so we can make appropriate decisions in our business. If anyone here one day wants to run a 7-figure business, you want to become $1 million business owner, you have to live off of data. Every decision that you make, any major decision that you make in your business needs to be born from data. Now, how do you improve your profit margins? If you go through this exercise and you see that your profit margins are just historically too low, there's a couple things that you can do, right? Number one, can you be more efficient on time? Is there anything in your production processes that you're doing that is inefficient, right? Are you, one thing that I do want to add actually, because a lot of you guys, less than 30K per month, I'm assuming that pretty much all of you are probably still on the tools, right? So if you're still in the tools and you're doing job costing, you must count your labor hours as part of the job costs at fair market value. So if you work 10 hours on that project, you need to put $250 or 25 an hour or whatever fair market value is for you as a painter onto that project in the labor spot. And the reason that you do this is so that your gross margin isn't artificially inflated. You need to be able to replace yourself. So if your projects are saying 50% gross margin and you're completing half the project yourself, as soon as you get to that point where you hire a painter, replace you with it, and now you're paying a painter, you're going to be more like a 20 or 30% gross margin, right? Which is not profitable enough to scale a company. You need to be at least at 50%. So make sure that every hour that you're tracking how many hours you're on each site or you're working on each project, and you're adding those to your job costing spreadsheets to make sure that you are accounting for your labor. You have to be doing that. So number one, be more efficient on time. Any efficiencies that you could do from a production standpoint, really important. Like, really reducing the amount of go backs that you're doing through ongoing quality checks, reducing the amount of times you're going back and forth from the paint store by being more prepared, making sure you're having proper sundries, making sure your trucks are all stocked properly, making sure that your painters know the right process to do things, how you want to do things, the most efficient ways to do things. And if you feel that you have some inefficiencies, but you're not sure where, try just typing in what you're doing right now into ChatGPT and ask it to improve your efficiencies of your process, and it's going to help you figure out where your efficiencies lie. Number two, improving profit margins. You can do that by implementing a piece rate system. So simply put, a piece rate system is a fixed amount per job. Now, if you're rocking W-2s or in-house employees in your business, you want to be presenting the job in terms of hours. So, hey, this project is going to be 30 hours. If you complete it in 20 hours, I'm going to pay you for 30, right? For a subcontract or a 1099, you're going to present it to them in terms of dollar amount. So for this project, I'm going to give you 45%, which is $2,100. If you finish this project in a week, or 2 weeks or 1 day, you're going to get the $2,100. So 1099s, you tell them dollar amount. W-2s or employees, you tell them the hours amount. That's kind of the main difference. But a piece rate system will fix your labor percentage, so it's always going to be about the same. And then the next one is be more efficient on materials. So training your painters to be more efficient on materials. Like there's one time I was on a job site and had a painter who called in an extra gallon of paint. And I was on site at the time. And so I'm like, excuse me, her name was Kayla. Like, Kayla, never forget that. I'm like, you don't have that much left to paint and you have like 3 empty cans here. It's like, let's take a look at what you have in the cans. And I taught her how to brush out a can. And we got like 1/8 of a gallon just from brushing out cans. And guess what? We finished the project and didn't buy a $48 gallon of paint. Right? So like little things like that can really go a long way in terms of improving efficiencies. Number 4, Jonathan, you're going to like this one. If you're spraying cabinets or you're spraying interiors, use an Apollo HVLP sprayer. You're going to save a ton of materials instead of using an airless, by just being more precise with your spray and not spraying it into the air. So the Apollo sprayers are going to use, I can't remember what it was. I think it was 30 or 40% less material to get the equivalent result than if you were using an airless, because it's just less pressure and just you're not going to particulate in the air as much. And then number 5, sell at higher charge rates. So a charge rate is what the hourly rate is that you're billing out on average in your, I said 30 to 40 and you said 38%. So right on. I got that one right. Sell at a higher charge rate. So a charge rate is the average hourly rate in which you're billing your jobs at. So if you charge a customer for a $5,000 job and you divide it by the number of labor hours, say it takes 80 hours, you take 5,000 divided by 80, that's a $62 charge rate, right? On average, right now, you want your charge rate to be between $75 and $90 an hour. So go back to your last few jobs, take the total revenue, divide it by number of hours it took, that'll get you your charge rate. 75 to 90 is where you want that to be at. Now for pricing, you will want to standardize your pricing to make it easier, right? But there's not one way to do it. There's not one price that's going to work for everyone. You need to look at your interior pricing, your exterior pricing, your cabinet pricing, right? So I'm just going to demo these sheets really quick. So I have these two sheets that we're going to be giving you as well. So here's the interior form, for example. And what you'll do for every job, and some, you've seen CRMs with this, like Drip Jobs or something like that. But basically, you're going to make a copy of this for every job. And just as you go through the project, you're just going to fill this out. So room 1, room 2, room 3, room 4, all the way up to room 10. You're going to put in all of the different substrates that you're going to be painting. And then it's going to add up the hours, add up the material, and give you a total price that you should charge. So you have your 20-minute prep spots, your 10-minute prep spots, your wallpaper removal. And then each one of these has a different coverage rate, labor rate, or amount of time that it takes. So it takes that into consideration automatically. So for like an easy wallpaper removal, we have 50 square feet an hour. For hand washing, we have 225 square feet an hour. For drywall, easy roll, 350 square feet an hour. For brushing, less than 150 or more than 150 square feet, we have 70 square feet an hour. Right. And so you just add all of that up: windows frames, door frames, trim, easy trim, hard trim, special considerations, put in your gallon price right here. And then it's going to knock out your price for you automatically. First coat, second coat, total price, total hours, charge rate, paint cost, paint percentage, do your gold job cost right there as well. So Stacy just asked a question: how do you account for your market area and your pricing? How can you know the pricing that your market can absorb? Now, I'm going to talk about this in the next step. So when it comes to sales. So right now we're talking about pricing. The next is going to be sales. And this is going to be how you can answer that question. So we have interior that has cabinets on it. Cabinets was right at the end there. And then which you're going to just modify once you understand your gross profit percentages on cabinets. And then we have exterior. And exterior is going to go about the same, where we have all of the different types of substrates, all of the different types of substrates in prep right here, the different types of finish coat, gallon pricing, and it's going to knock out your pricing for you. So number 1, cost jobs to get a benchmark. Number 2, standardize it to make it easier to quote. Number 3, pay attention to your gross margins and close rates. Adjust your pricing as needed based on metrics. And that last one I'm just gonna say it differently. Adjust your pricing as needed based on your metrics, based on your gross profit margins and your close rate. So two situations are going to happen. And here's just a picture of that. So where your real gains will come from is by being great at sales, right? So sales is the transfer of trust. And good sales should not be dishonest or misleading. Good sales should be helpful. Good sales is helping people. And a 40 to 50% close rate should be your goal, right? Anything above, 35 to 40% above that is good. Anything below that, if it's higher than that, you can raise your prices. So these are the indicators and what you can do if you know these numbers. If your close rate is above 40 or 50%, you can raise your prices. That means your market can handle a higher price because you want to be between 40 and 50%. If your close rate is lower than 40%, then you have one or two issues. Number 1, your sales skill could potentially be better. Or number 2, you might have to lower your pricing. So Stacy, how do you know what pricing your market can absorb? Is simply by paying attention to your close rate. And once your sales skill has reached a certain level, the sales is an infinite game. You're never gonna finish getting better at sales. I've done like probably at least 5,000 sales appointments, and I'm still learning more about sales every day, right? So consider getting better at sales, taking a sales course. I mean, we have really, really great sales courses that are relatively affordable. They're very affordable, actually. And if you've improved your sales skill and you're still below 40%, maybe you need to reduce your prices. But you can also check what your what your charge rate is, right? And if your charge rate is like above 90 or above $100, then maybe it is time to reduce it a little bit. And the final point that I don't actually have in this presentation, Stacy, the other way to know what your market can absorb is by asking other painters in your area. And the best way to do that is through a community, not by directly reaching out to them. So we have a community of hundreds and hundreds of painting contractors who are all working together and have a trusting space where they can ask each other these questions, right? But unfortunately, today is not about sales because it's about pricing and getting leads. If you want to learn about sales, like in our blueprint program, this is just our sales training area. Like we have this many videos and trainings just in the sales section alone. Now, I'm not going to get into this, but just showing you that like there is a lot of training around sales. All right, ways to get leads. This is fun because I go into a little bit of marketing basics here, but it's really important to understand the concepts of marketing, and then we'll get in a little strategy here. So, number one, you can buy them, right? Lead services. Boo. We don't recommend lead services. I'll go into that a little bit. Number two, paid online advertising. So Facebook ads, Google ads, etc. Number three, paid offline advertising, flyers, door-to-door, lawn signs. And then organic, word of mouth, SEO, referrals. Okay, so that's like pretty much the ways to get leads. I'm going to go into each one of those in a second. First, just a little bit of theory. So depending on your channel, I mean, every single marketing channel, you're going to learn, you're not going to learn about this, but you need to know it to understand marketing. But every time you put out any sort of marketing piece, you are utilizing the 3 M's of marketing, whether you know it or not. And the 3 M's of marketing are market, message, and media. What does that mean? So your market is, who are you targeting? What is the demographic of the person who is seeing your message? So if you're using Facebook ads, for example, you can like put in your detailed targeting of like who you're putting on. If you're putting out your flyers, okay, my market is, this neighborhood here, right? So that is your market. That's number one. Number two is message. So what are the words and imagery that you are using in your advertising? If it's your Facebook ad, it's your text and your image, right? If it's a flyer, it's like, what is the wording on the flyer? If it's a lawn sign, what are the words and the call to action on the lawn sign? So what is the message? What are you actually getting across? And the third is media. What media or medium are you using to transfer this message? Are you using Facebook? Facebook is a media. Are you using flyers? Flyers are a media. Are you using Google? Google is a media, right? So no matter what you choose to do for marketing, when you do marketing, you are utilizing the market message and media. And what happens often is someone will come to me and they'll say, hey, Mike, I tried Facebook ads. Facebook ads didn't work for me. It's like, okay, so what I'm hearing is that you tried a media and the message market mix that you used wasn't effective in your area. Is that right? Usually we'll get like a blank stare back because I didn't previously explain this, the 3 M's of marketing to them. But typically it'd be like, yes, they tried a media, but their message market didn't work. Obviously, Facebook ads works because there's like, it's one of the biggest companies in the world. It's not that Facebook ads doesn't work. It's that you don't know how to make Facebook ads work. So keep that in mind because some of the concepts I'm going to take you through, you may be familiar with. You may be familiar with in the sense of the 3M marketing mix that you have tried in the past that may have or may have not worked. So just keep an open mind as we go through it. Now, buying them, right? So first way to get leads that we talked about, Angie, Home Advisor, Thumbtack, Bark, you name it, right? Pro, it can feel like a faucet to get leads. Con, leads can be really expensive, high competition. You can have really bad leads. It's not really scalable. It's not really reliable. And it's really akin to buying fish, right? Because you don't own it. It's not creating any value for your business. It's just buying leads, like buying fish at the supermarket. If you need another lead, you have to go to the supermarket. Not a good strategy. Overall, I do not typically recommend buying leads, especially if you're doing less than 30K a month. So it is a crutch that has no long-term value to your company. And if you can completely avoid it, avoid it. I would highly recommend avoiding it if you can. Again, it's like gambling, right? I mean, I personally haven't, but I've seen a lot of clients who have gone there and they spent $300 on like an interior repaint lead and like could never even get a hold of the client or something like that. So next, paid online. So paid online as a medium, Facebook, Google, GLSAs. Pro, they're scalable. They are reliable. Con, can be expensive. can have a longer testing period. Lots of scammy agencies out there. Hardish to learn on your own. It's not impossible though. Now with paid online, overall, I do recommend GLSAs for everyone, but I recommend Facebook ads if you're doing at least 15 or 20K a month. I recommend Google ads if you're doing over 30K per month. It's just, I don't recommend getting into Facebook ads or Google ads if you're doing less than that, because it can be a high cost to get leads. You're going to get low quality leads. You need a lot of time to follow up with these low quality leads to get them to do an estimate. So overall, not the highest opportunity for you. Trade shows, I added this one in. Buying a booth at a home show or garden show or other type of trade show. Pro, you get a ton of leads in a short period of time. Con can be a high upfront cost, and you may have to call and schedule 50 plus estimates in a short period of time. If you feel like that's a con. I mean, I've done over $100,000 in one trade show. So to pay, $5K for a booth and marketing materials, absolutely worth it. Highly recommend trade shows. We do have a system called the 100K home show that we teach in Blueprint. So if you have the opportunity to do a trade show, I would recommend it, but it's really important how you do it, making sure your giveaway is appropriate, things like that. Now for organic, word of mouth, SEO, referrals. Pro, some of the best leads ever. Con, difficult to scale, takes a long time to build up, not reliable, right? Now with organic, highly recommend starting now to build it up, work on your Google reviews, adding content to your website. Also, your Instagram profile is huge. I don't think I had that here. But Instagram profile, making sure that you have a really clean Instagram profile, you have a good description, good pictures, good highlights. If you want a good example of who to look up to when it comes to Instagram profile, look at ZK Painting. I'll just throw him in the chat. He was just recently on my podcast. ZK Painting, really, really great Instagram profile. There you go. Strategy. Anyway, not going to get too much into that. If you want to learn about Instagram, how to do content on Instagram to make money, check out the first interview that I did with him on my podcast. I think I did it like maybe 8 months ago. Really, really good. Just go to the Spotify, search ZK Painting or Zach Kenny or something like that, and you'll find it. All right. Paid offline, flyers, door-to-doors, door hangers, networking. Pro, scalable, can be most affordable way to get leads, can get residential and commercial leads. Con, takes effort. Con can be bad if you don't know what you're doing. Now, for paid offline, I highly, highly recommend paid offline. This is going to be what will differentiate you as a business. Paid offline will generate you the highest return on investment for your time and money. Okay. And we're really, so far, you see in those Facebook groups, people are like, how do I get leads? Like, we've gone through every way to get leads so far. We haven't got into all of the individual strategies, the sub strategies, but for paid offline is going to be the best return on investment. And that's what we're going to work on today. So output is going to equal your input. If you can do an unreasonable amount, do an unreasonable amount if you want to get an unreasonable return. And I made this up last night. I was really proud of myself. If you dabble, your leads will dribble. I hope you guys are laughing at your phones by yourself right now on that. So if you dabble, your leads will dribble. So you guys want me to get into the easiest way to start paid offline? We go with that? All right, we'll get into that. So just as a base, just to let you know, in our blueprint, we teach 14 organic, paid online and offline marketing systems. So these are all of our systems that we train on, and you can actually expand each of these into like 10 or 15 videos, go into a lot of detail, just to let you know what is actually there. But for today, we're going to focus on just one. We're going to focus on something called the Job Site Blitz. Now, Job Site Blitz, the goal of this is to get 3 jobs from every job. And you don't even have to be doing a job to get a job from the Job Site Blitz. You can just pick a great neighborhood and get after it. The idea behind it is you want to make your job site a show. You want lawn signs the day you book it, lawn signs on the boulevard entering into the neighborhood. You want to do door hangers on the 100 closest homes in this neighborhood. And then you want to door knock those homes 1 to 2 times. And then finally, you want to scale yourself out of it by teaching someone else to do this for you so that you don't have to do it, right? Ideally, you set this up, you do it a couple of times, you find someone who you can train on it, and then they can execute on this for you and get you 3 jobs from every job you do, or just 3 jobs from any neighborhood that they go into. So lawn signs, here's a couple nice examples. I do have a caveat, like if you want to make a lawn sign, 100% you need to use a designer, a graphic designer. So just like non-negotiable, use a graphic designer. And then for door hangers, when you're putting out your door hangers, a couple of really important tips here is that you really need to make a niche door hanger. You don't want to just want to have a general one. And I have a example of what not to do in a second. You want a niche messaging, pictures, and offer, all focused on what you want. May sound obvious. If you want cabinet jobs, talk about how good you are at cabinets, right? And how you make it easy and all the cabinet projects that you've done and your process. If you want interiors, talk about that. If you want stucco jobs, talk about that, right? Um, do not be a jack of all trades. I see this so often where someone goes in and they put on a door hanger or they put on a flyer or they put on their lawn sign. We do cabinets, we do interior, we do exterior, we do residential, we do commercial, we do handyman, we do drywall. We'll fix your toilet, mow your lawn, shovel your snow, and all this stuff, right? Thinking that the wider net that I cast, the more leads I'm going to get, right? Has anyone here, throw a yes in the chat if anyone's guilty of trying to be a jack of all trades in their advertising? Scott, being honest, thanks for being honest, Scott. Guilty. Yeah. So, um, being a jack of all trades is counterproductive. I mean, it's not going to work the way that you think it's going to work, unfortunately. So, um, here's just a couple of door hangers from some of our clients that turned out pretty nice. None of them are like perfect, I would say, in terms of being like specific one type of substrate, basically one type of job. But they use a designer. They turned out really nice, and I just wanted to kind of share that. You always want to get them professionally designed. Use someone Fiverr and pay them $20 before you order them. Sorry, pay $20 to get it designed, and then from there you can order it from Vistaprint or something like that. So with the door like this, I found this. I just went to Fiverr.com. Seriously, if I just go over here, I go to Fiverr.com and I search door hanger right there. And then I can just go down and look at see one that I like. Okay, pressure washing expert. This looks pretty nice. Let's see what else they've done. All those look pretty cool. Okay, click on that. Right now I'm at this person's what they call gig. And then I can see their work, see what they've done. It's like, okay, this looks pretty legit. Do I want to pick standard? Do I want to pick or basic, standard, or premium? So for this one, standard, double side, print ready files, unlimited revisions, 2-day delivery, unlimited. And then you continue, you pay $40, you put in all the information, you send them your logo, your colors, your pictures, and they just design it for you. So easy. Don't spend your time. Don't spend your time trying to design because you are not a graphic designer. As good as you can paint, you cannot graphic design. So guys, this works, right? But most people are too scared to do it. And I don't know why, because like if I had one way to make money, this is what I would do. If I had to go get jobs tomorrow, and I was desperate and I didn't have any money, I would just go out and start banging on doors. I find the nicest neighborhood that I can, go hit as many doors as I can, and just talk about the type of project that I want to get. This is a little bit of a smarter way to do it. So being broke is hard. Growing a business is hard. Choose your hard. That's kind of what we're all about here. So basically to recap, we talked about profit first pricing. So I want to make sure that profit margins are appropriate. There's no one way to price. You want to make sure that your pricing works for your business. You want to job cost first and then focus on sales, right? Learn where your margins are, become a better salesperson, learn marketing fundamentals, focus on paid offline, and then you're eventually going to want to scale yourself out of it. So let's just go back to number one. One seems like a good one. Throw number one if you got some value today. That's good use of your time, good use of your Wednesday afternoon. Awesome. Cool, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening to the Painter Growth Podcast. If you want to grow your painting business, go to www.paintergrowth.com or click on the top link in the description. Talk soon.